Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you're watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got a breaking news report coming out from the White House in the United States. We're going to talk about Donald Trump, and we're going to talk about future aid to Ukraine. So check out this story on your screen. Trump to meet with National Security Team to discuss ending Ukraine aid. Trump will meet with his senior advisors on Monday, where he will consider the future of Ukraine aid even as European countries are discussing how to increase their support for Ukraine. Okay, so we talked about this a little bit during our update video this morning with the Russia-Ukraine war. I want to go more deeper into this and show you guys some main headlines coming out regarding this topic. And the big question here is Donald Trump going to cut off future aid to Ukraine? Well, we're kind of seeing a piece of that coming out now at the time that I record this. Show you guys all these details. We're going to start off here with an update coming out from the Kiev Independent. We'll go over this just briefly, a few paragraphs here on this article. Then we'll jump on over to X, and I've got several things I'm going to share with you guys regarding this topic over there as well. So this is coming out today, March 3rd, 2025. Trump to discuss potential suspension, cancellation of military aid for Ukraine on March 3rd. Here's a photo of Donald Trump right here. And it says down here, U.S. President Donald Trump will discuss on March 3rd the possible suspension or complete cancellation of military aid to Ukraine, including weapons pledged by the Biden administration, the New York Times reported, citing an undisclosed source. Okay, so notice here, it also talks about Biden's weapons, okay? So whatever weapons the Biden administration gave to Ukraine, anything that's still not headed over to Ukraine just yet could possibly be halted as well. And then also we had a report that came out just late last week that the Biden administration apparently signed contracts with defense manufacturers all across the U.S., I think even in Europe as well, and was supposed to be covering many types of equipment that Ukraine needed all the way up until like next year, I think until 2026. So I guess there's a possibility that could be halted also. The news comes after Trump's public spat with President Volodymyr Zelenskyy in the White House on February 28th that upended plans to sign a natural resources treaty between the two countries. An unnamed administration official told New York Times that Trump will meet on March 3rd with his top national security aides, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, to review and potentially act on a range of policy options for Ukraine. Among the issues to be considered will be the suspension or cancellation of U.S. military aid to Ukraine, including the latest shipments of ammunition and equipment authorized during the Biden administration. Zelenskyy has repeatedly urged the U.S. to continue shipping arms to Ukraine to strengthen Kiev's position in future peace negotiations with Russia. The Trump administration has not authorized new weapons shipments for Ukraine, but has not halted those that were announced under the previous Biden administration. Reuters reported in earlier February that opposing factions within the administration had been debating whether the U.S. should continue providing weapons. The U.S. has provided Ukraine with $65.9 billion in military aid since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion in February 2022. Trump signed an executive order on his first day of his term, freezing foreign aid funding for 90 days. Okay, so we're going to have to wait and see what comes out from this. I think we'll get some information today, but I think a lot of it might come out tomorrow, as I have a report today that Trump will be addressing Congress for the first time. So that's probably when we'll hear a lot of these announcements, but we'll see what happens, okay? So jumping on over to X now, Max24, this is a brand new report just breaking. The Trump administration has stopped funding new weapon sales to Ukraine and is considering freezing arms shipments from U.S. warehouses, okay? So we've already been kind of hearing this. It's not completely news, but the Trump administration reportedly today no longer funding new weapon sales to Ukraine. Now, will that be permanent? We don't know if that's just a suspension or if it's an actual, completely cut off supplies. We don't really know yet. But that was a report reportedly coming out today from the Wall Street Journal, and now they're thinking about freezing arms shipments from U.S. warehouses. Okay, so very big news today. We'll see what happens here. Now from Bliskovka, Trump does not want Volodymyr Zelenskyy to resign after their quarrel in the White House. This was stated by U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick in an interview with CNN. He also added that Trump is considering what to do and how to respond in the context of further steps and possible termination of aid to Ukraine. Okay, so reportedly at the end of the day, Trump does not want Zelenskyy to resign. There's been apparently calls for him to resign. I haven't heard him coming out really commenting on that. Zelenskyy, that is. He hasn't really said anything. But he did mention something like it's going to be difficult for him to resign or something like that. I don't think he's really stated that he wouldn't, but there was some rumors around there talking about that as well. Okay, so moving on to another update. Vice Grad 24, Trump says Zelenskyy has made the worst statement that could have been made. Axios reports that Trump will meet today with Rubio, Waltz, Hegseth, and other to discuss Ukraine. A total freeze in military aid approved for Biden for 2025 is to be discussed, according to Axios. Okay, so what he's talking about is a statement that I showed you guys earlier today, where Zelenskyy came out and said this right here. Okay, here it is in the photo. Ukraine Zelenskyy says end of war with Russia is very, very far away. Okay, so Zelenskyy stated that earlier today, and then here's Trump's response on Truth Social. This is the worst statement that could have been made by Zelenskyy, and America will not put up with it for much longer. It is what I was saying. This guy doesn't want there to be peace as long as he has America's backing. And Europe, in the meeting they had with Zelenskyy, stated flatly they cannot do the job without the U.S. Probably not a great statement to have been made in terms of show of strength against Russia. What are they thinking? So, I mean, that's a major statement right there. I think that gives us a lot of clues that the U.S. is going to pull out of support for Ukraine, maybe even for Europe as well. Okay, and what he's talking about, saying here that that Europe can't really do this on their own as well. They need the U.S. to back them. Is UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer came out and said that in a statement that in order for them to fulfill this peace agreement for Ukraine, they need U.S. Backing to do so. So how's that going to happen if the U.S. completely pulls out of this agreement with Ukraine? Ukraine could be in very big trouble here very soon. And Europe's going to be left holding the bag, having to do whatever they can to help out Ukraine. We know Europe is stepping up a lot right now. They're going to be producing lots of weapons in their nations. But ultimately, can Europe support Ukraine completely? And does that mean this war is going to continue and Ukraine could head down a horrible path here if this war continues and maybe Russia keeps making gains? Who knows what's going to happen here in the end, okay? It's going to get very interesting. Now for Mosin Technical, U.S. arms shipments to Ukraine continue today with the United States Transportation Command. Command chartered Boeing 747 landing in Sheshov, if I'm saying that right, this afternoon, the gateway for Western aid to Ukraine. So allegedly there was a flight coming from the U.S. to Ukraine, so Ukraine's still kind of getting weapons, at least in the meantime. As far as I know, they're still receiving them. It's just not as much or any new packages being announced by the Trump administration, basically, since he got in office. Now here's another one from Max24, Trump post. So this was another post from Trump earlier on Truth Social also. It says, Europe has spent more money buying Russian oil and gas than they have spent on defending Ukraine by far. So this is another hint to me that maybe at some point he's not going to be too supportive of Europe and also putting pressure on Europe, letting them know, hey, you guys should be supporting Ukraine much more than we have been. There's a whole, argument conversation about that right now, about whether the U.S. has been doing more for Ukraine or has Europe been doing more for Ukraine. But at the end of the day, Trump's been coming out a lot. He says all the time that Europe doesn't do enough for Ukraine. They should be, because they're right next to Ukraine. Russia's more of a threat than to Europe than to the United States, also considering right now that the U.S. is basically siding with Russia in many ways. So that was a statement coming out from him today, putting more pressure on Europe. Also from Megatron Ron, breaking, the White House is working on a plan to lift sanctions on Russia and some Russian businessmen, per Reuters. Okay, so that's a big report today too. We just heard recently that sanctions were extended for a year, but at any point, could they just go ahead and lift them? They probably could. So I wouldn't be surprised pretty soon we start hearing, as soon as maybe the U.S. pulls out of Ukraine support, and also maybe even Europe. We're going to be hearing a lot of troops leaving out of Europe as well very soon. Those are U.S. troops, and they're going to be, for the most part, it looks like to me, siding with Russia, and now going to be lifting sanctions as well. Okay, so this is going to be a complete 180 turnaround from the United States. Vice Grad 24 reports Zelenskyy releases new statement. We continue our work with partners. We have already had talks and other steps to come soon. It is very important that we try to make our diplomacy really substantive and to end this war as soon as possible. We need real peace, and Ukrainians want it most because the war ruins our cities and towns. We lose our people. We need to stop the war and to guarantee security. We are working together with America and European partners and very much hope on U.S. support on a path to peace. Peace is needed as soon as possible. Okay, so Basically, just Zelensky coming out and saying they want to try to end this war as soon as they possibly can. But once again, something he's been reiterating many times is he wants security guarantees for Ukraine to make sure that that Russia can't attack them ever again. Okay, so that's kind of what he's talking about here. Now, for Max 24, the resource deal with Ukraine is not dead yet, Trump said, promising to address the issue in his speech on March 4th. Okay, so that's tomorrow when he's going to be meeting with Congress. Okay, so we're going to be hearing a lot of big things coming out tomorrow, is what I'm thinking. But he's stating here that the resource deal apparently is still open. That's talking about the minerals with Ukraine in exchange for U.S. support. Now, from World Source News 24/7, Trump says he will give update on Ukraine minerals deal Tuesday evening. Okay, again, so that tomorrow he's going to be talking more about the Ukraine minerals deal. Okay, and finally, just this last thing to show you guys here from the White House, it was literally just posted today, tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. President Trump delivers his first joint address to Congress. You don't want to miss this. Okay, and this was a post that Trump also put out on True Social today. And he said, "Tomorrow night will be big. I will tell it like it is." Okay, so I'm very curious to see what they're going to be talking about. I mean, I'm sure they're going to talk a lot about Ukraine, a lot about U.S. security. Will they maybe talk about what's going on with Mexico, with the cartels? Probably be a lot of huge topics, even about these tariffs going on to Mexico and Canada tomorrow. I put out a community post for you guys. You should be seeing that sometime today. And he's going to be discussing a lot of different things. Okay, so I'll be curious to see what comes out from this event tomorrow when he holds this conference with Congress, and what is he going to talk about? What is he going to announce? And the big question here is U.S. aid going to be cut off completely to Ukraine? It looks like partially it's beginning to unfold right now. But very soon, by tomorrow, maybe we could hear that it's completely cut off. So let me know what you guys think about all these details. Share your thoughts, concerns, and opinions down in the comment section. That's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.